Integrity, commitment, hard work, sacrifice, and perseverance. That's where we begin. Because that's where it began for generations of all of our Ames athletes who had the tremendous good fortune to cross paths with Neil Levine and Judy Copley. Integrity, commitment, hard work, sacrifice, and perseverance is where it began the day that I first met Neil and Judy. I was 21 years old, looking forward to my first coaching opportunity. 20 minutes after having met them, we had spent an awful lot of time talking about those 5 things. I think Neil had quoted Aristotle about 6 or 7 times. And we had talked surprisingly little about the sport of cross country. At the time, I thought it was strange, but there was something that Neil and Judy wanted me to know from the start. That it was never about wins, or records, or championships. That it was about transforming young people's lives. We had a lot of wins, records, and championships. I think the final count was 192 and 16, something like that. Some tremendous athletes, including a few that you've heard from tonight, Mike and Jenna. We also had our Dennis Harkins and our Richie Wirtz and our Sarah Daly and Casey Keene. Athletes who didn't win a championship or break a record, but people who Neil and Judy invested in no less. Even now, 10 to 15 years later, they can see those faces still. They're among hundreds of OA cross-country kids who battled out on the course, battled through rough days, maybe through bad races or setbacks or injuries, battled their way through life, through personal struggles, personal fears, some of which we may still not know about. Neil and Judy didn't just build a program, they built Safe Haven, a place where you could come, take risks, be challenged, succeed, fail, get back up, and be better than yesterday. Integrity, commitment, hard work, sacrifice, and perseverance were not the keys to success. They were the definition of success. And all the wins, championships, and records were byproducts. Happy byproducts, but byproducts no less. It was my honor to have coached alongside them for so long. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce them and congratulate them tonight for their service to the young men and women of Oliver Ames Cross Country. I present to you for induction into the Oliver Ames Athletic Hall of Fame, Judy Copley and Neil Levine.
Good job, Kyle.
So, Jude, what are we going to talk about tonight?
I don't know, Neil. There are just so many stories we could tell.
That's for sure.
Hey, do you remember that time we set the course on fire, literally and figuratively, at the state championship meet in Gardner?
That was epic. So, it's a good story.
Oh God, here we go.
Wait. So there's, 351 cities and towns in the state of Massachusetts. And every year, 20 of them get to qualify for the state championship meet. I think we qualified almost every year. I don't remember. We were there all the time. So this one particular year, where we qualified for the state meet, 20 teams, and it was back in the days when people read newspapers. And it was out in Gardner, Massachusetts. And when we had these big state meets, Mr. Paul was gracious enough to allow us to go out to Gardner the day before and preview the course. So all the big teams in the state were out at Gardner. It was on a golf course, a country club. So we're out there previewing the course. So again, there are 20 teams that qualified for the meet. And this year, we got in, the Boston Globe would do a poll. And OA was ranked like 20th, boys and girls out of the 20 teams. And the Boston Herald had a poll, and we were ranked like 19th out of 20 teams. And the Massachusetts State Coaches Association had a poll, and they said we were 19th out of 20 teams. And every poll that you read, all the prognosticators, all the experts said we were probably going to finish last in the meet. So we wanted a little plan to get the troops rallied up.
Polls mean nothing, that's all so. We had the idea, before we boarded the bus to go out to Gardner, that we'd just do a little incentive, just
Get the
spur
kids riled
riled
up,
get them fired up.
Right, exactly, literally.
You gotta get them fired up, because to hell with the polls, right? So, brought the can from home, sorry, Neil.
Okay. So we take this is like a little garbage can. We go out to the 7th fairway out of Gardner Municipal Golf Course Country Club, and there's teams like all around us.
Previewing the
everyone's
course.
previewing the course, doing a little warm-ups, running around, and we get the top, all the top kids, the boys and girls over here. Hold this for a second.
People remember this?
Some of you've seen that before. So we get the kids circled up, and we're giving them like a free race. We're gonna get these kids riled up. So we hold up
The Boston
Boston
Globe.
Globe. Hold this the It was like Brockton Enterprise has us, ranked 20th. Should we take the thing from the Brockton Enterprise?
Crumple it up.
Crumple it up. That's what we think of the Brockton Enterprise. Boston Globe has us at 19. We crumple it up. That's what we think of the Boston Globe. Same thing with the Herald. The Herald has a place. That's what we think of the Herald. We take the lighter fluid, pour the lighter fluid into the bucket, take the matches, strike the matches, boom, big bonfire goes. The kids are like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. It's like, we're crazy. What's going on here? Fire goes out. We send the kids back on the bus, back to the hotel room. Judy and I, pick up the bucket, and the whole fairway is like fried. There's no grass. The golf course is trashed. The kids are gone, we're gone. We just kind of look at each other. We get back on the bus. We go back to the hotel. We come back the next day, bring the kids back to the burn mark, get them all fired up again.
Everyone touching their hand on the burn. It was awesome.
Kids are pumped. They run out of their spikes that day. We end up finishing, boys and girls that finished like 3rd place from like 19th. It was like PRs all everywhere. That was a day burning up the course.
We literally spent hours this week trying to weed out what stories to tell, and then we just realized there was no way we could even begin to touch the tip of the iceberg, so we can't tell them all.
So what are we going to talk about?
Well, we'll talk, we're getting serious now. We're going to talk about how humbled we are to receive this honor.
What else are we going to talk about?
We can talk about how thankful we are to all the people who've made the success of Oliver Ames High Cross Country, past, present, and future possible.
That sounds good to me. I think I'll start. First, I want to say thank you to my mom sitting over at that table. She is going to be 89 on Monday. She'll tell you that she is the reason that I'm so shy. More importantly, sorry Mom, I want to say thank you to my wife of Wendy, the wonderful Wendy, for 32 years. Coaching was like a second job to us. And for 15 years, we sacrificed a lot of time together for the success of the program. Thank you for letting me pursue my passion. Love you.
I have several people I'd like to thank. One can't be here tonight, unfortunately. COVID struck her house this morning. But if it wasn't for my friend Karen Bowen, I wouldn't be here tonight. In August of 1999, I just switched jobs and commenced working from home. I was leading the pack on that one, to be home more with our boys. And just like 2 weeks into my new routine, Karen called and informed me that Oliver Ames was looking for an assistant cross-country coach, and she encouraged me to pursue that. 5 days later, I was at my first cross-country practice. So much for being home more with the boys. And then, although I tend to be associated with cross-country, right after that first cross-country season ended, I became an assistant track coach for Mike Darling. And for the next 3 and 5 years, I was the distance coach for the indoor and outdoor teams. And after that, there were a couple seasons when both Neil and I were volunteer outdoor coaches. And for years, we served as timers at the meets. So I started out a trackie in my life in competition. So the opportunity to be part of those teams and work with so many great kids and all the coaches here tonight who I got to work with those years, it was just tremendous. So thanks for that, Mike. I really appreciate it. And as it turned out, I did get to see my kids more because they often attended practices when they were young. And then once in high school, Mackenzie competed in track. Both indoor and outdoor, and Britain ran all 3 seasons throughout high school. And I just love that we got to spend that time together and share that common interest. But I have to admit, it did get trying at times when they were young. There was one particular Nantucket trip that Mackenzie attended with the cross-country team when he was about 10. And at the end of the day, when we were all in town, he ran up to me all excited and asked if he could get the same t-shirt that several of the older boys on the team had bought. I'm thinking, sure, well, let's go over to the store. Turns out it was the shirt proclaiming, "I am the man from Nantucket." He didn't get the shirt. And it's truly amazing that our youngest son, Britton, survived, because at various times, he was literally tied up, duct taped to a backstop, tossed around like a football. Joanne Faust reminded me tonight the time that he got shoved into a trash can. And then Jake Sunderland reminded me that Britton accompanied me to a pasta dinner at the Battalaros house one time. And I was driving home about an hour or so later, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot Britton. So, but probably the most memorable incident with Britton had to be the time that he was coaxed into calling 911 from the payphone outside Jim Mitchell, the athletic director's office. And he summoned the police, the fire department, and an ambulance to the high school. So, anyway. And then, of course, my husband Chris, who had to put up with all these years, but I know there were a lot of Saturdays when I was either at practice or away at meets. And given your love and admiration for pristine lawns, I know how difficult it was for you to have our lawn trampled by like 100 plus kids and their yoga mats so many Saturdays each fall. So thank you for putting up with me and for understanding my love for the sport, the kids, and what we're all about. So thank you for that.
We'd also like to thank Kyle for that beautiful introduction.
Thanks, Kyle.
And the rest of the current coaching staff at the high school, Allison, Troy, and the recently sabbatical Helen Monreal.
We truly, we truly left the program in a better place when we put it in your hands. Okay, they're gonna get sick of hearing this. Values of it. Ready, everyone? Integrity, commitment, hard work, sacrifice, perseverance, as well as tradition live on.
You see, tradition does not graduate, and tradition does not retire. It lives on in each and every one of you.
This past summer, Oliver Ames Cross Country lost a truly great friend and mentor, Mr. Ed Connor. And like us, Ed loved running and coaching. And for years, he came to practice every single day. He served as a timer at home meets, and he often attended indoor and outdoor track meets. We just want to say we miss you, Ed, and we wish you were here with us tonight.
In addition to Ed standing alongside us for every stride, we had tremendous support from a couple of volunteer assistant coaches, Chris Gammons and Marty Weiner.
And we'd like to thank the presidents of the Boosters organization who were there during our tenure. George and Ronnie Harrington, Craig and Ann Binney, Jim and Diane Kent, and Craig and Michelle Sarni.
Over the past 30 years, you have provided 17 of your children as student athletes, captains, and even one coach to the team. But more importantly, you have provided the moral, physical, and financial support that has made the Oliver Ames High School cross-country program what it is.
This Hall of Fame induction belongs to all of you. Family, coaches, volunteers, boosters, and the student athletes of Oliver Ames High School. To Gary Bourne and the entire Hall of Fame committee, and all of you here.
It is
It's
an honor and a privilege to be inducted into the Oliver Ames High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Thank you.